Jake Morrison walked through the long hallway that led to the council chambers. His black shoes made soft sounds on the smooth crystal floor. The walls around him were made of some strange alien material that glowed with a soft blue light. He had been walking these same halls for 3 years now, but they still felt cold and unwelcoming. Jake was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. He was a tall man with short brown hair and kind eyes. Today he wore his best dark blue suit with the small Earth flag pin on his chest. He carried a leather briefcase that held all the papers and documents he needed for today's meeting. The council chambers were huge. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see the top. 12 massive chairs sat in a circle around the center of the room. Each chair was built for a different alien species. Some were tall and thin. Others were wide and low to the ground. Jake walked to the small human platform in the center. It was much smaller than the alien chairs around him. He felt like a child standing among giants. The aliens looked down at him from their high seats. Their eyes were cold and unfriendly. The first to speak was Counselor Vex of the Vorthak. He looked like a giant insect with hard black skin and 4 arms. His voice made a clicking sound when he talked. "Human Morrison," he said, "we have made our decision about your colonies in the Outer Rim." Jake felt his heart beating faster. The human colonies were home to over 50 million people. They had been built with hard work and hope. Families had moved there to start new lives among the stars. Children had been born there who had never seen Earth. "The council has voted," said Counselor Zafira of the Zilani. She was tall and thin with skin that looked like glass. Her voice was soft but cold. "All human settlements in the Outer Rim must be moved. These worlds are too valuable for humans to control." Jake stepped forward. "Counselor Zephyra, with respect, these colonies have been there for 10 years. The people there have built homes, schools, and farms. They have families. You cannot just force them to leave." The massive Krex counselor Threx made a deep rumbling sound. He looked like he was made of living stone. "Humans are young. You do not understand the galaxy. These worlds have resources that older species need. You will move to the edge worlds. We have chosen for you." "But the edge worlds cannot support life without massive help," Jake said. His voice was getting louder. "You are asking us to move to places where we can barely survive. Our colonies are peaceful. We trade fairly with everyone. We have caused no trouble." Counselor Zafira waved one of her long, thin hands. "This decision is final. Humans are like children playing with toys they do not understand. You will do as the council commands." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Our colonies produce food that feeds 12 different worlds. Our doctors have saved thousands of alien lives. Our engineers have built stations that benefit everyone in this sector. How can you call us children?" The Vorthak counselor clicked, his mandibles together. "Humans have been in space for less than 100 years. Some of us have been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. You are babies in the cosmic scale." "We may be young," Jake said, "but we learn fast. We adapt. We solve problems that others cannot solve. Is that not valuable?" "Valuable enough to let you keep worlds that contain rare metals and energy sources?" asked Threx. "We think not. The edge worlds will be perfect for humans. You can farm and mine there. You will be safe and contained." Jake realized what was really happening. The council did not just want the resources from human worlds. They wanted to keep humans away from the important parts of the galaxy. They wanted to put humanity in a corner where they could be controlled. "You are making a mistake," Jake said quietly. "Humans do not like being told where they can and cannot live. We do not like being pushed around by those who think they are better than us." Counselor Zafira laughed. It sounded like wind blowing through broken glass. "What will humans do? Fight us? Your entire fleet could not defeat one of our battle groups. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. You have no allies who would help you." The other counselors made sounds that Jake knew were laughter. The Vorthak clicked, the Krex rumbled, and the other species made their own noise of amusement. They thought the idea of humans fighting back was funny. Jake looked around the chamber at all the alien faces looking down at him. He had spent 3 years trying to make friends with these beings. He had been polite and respectful, He had followed all their rules and customs. He had tried to show them that humans could be good partners in the galaxy. None of it had mattered. They saw humans as nothing more than young animals who needed to be controlled. "The vote is 12-0, announced the council leader. "All human colonies in the Outer Rim will be relocated within 6 months. Transport ships will be provided. No further discussion is needed." Jake closed his briefcase and picked it up. He bowed slightly to the council as was proper. "I will inform Earth of your decision," he said. As he walked out of the chamber, Jake could hear the counselors already talking about how to divide up the human worlds among themselves. They were planning which species would get which resources. They talked about humans like they were not even there. Jake walked back through the crystal hallways to his small office. He sat down at his desk and turned on his secure communication device. The message he sent was short and simple. "President Campbell, they said no. Complete relocation demanded. 6 months. No negotiation possible. They do not see us as equals. Never will. Time for other options. Jake." He sent the message and sat back in his chair. Through his window, he could see the alien ships moving around the station. There were thousands of them. They were powerful and advanced. The council members were right about one thing. In a straight fight, humanity would lose badly. But Jake had learned something in his 3 years as ambassador. He had learned that the galaxy's older species had been at peace for so long that they had forgotten what real war looked like. They had forgotten that sometimes the young and desperate could be more dangerous than the old and powerful. Jake opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small device. It looked like a normal Earth tablet, but it was much more than that. He pressed a few buttons and sent a second message. This one was much longer and went to very different people. The message contained everything Jake had learned about Council military positions, ship movements, and defense systems. It had detailed maps of every important station and base. It had the personal schedules of Council leaders and the locations of their families. For 3 years, Jake Morrison had been Earth's diplomat, but he had also been Earth's spy. He finished his report and sent it off into space toward Earth. Then he leaned back in his chair and waited. The Council thought they knew humans. They thought they understood what humanity would do when pushed. They were about to learn how wrong they were. President Lisa Campbell sat in the Oval Office reading Jake Morrison's message for the 3rd time. Her hands were steady, but her jaw was tight with anger. She had hoped the aliens would listen to reason. She had believed that peaceful talks could solve this problem. She was wrong. General Roy Patterson stood near the window looking out at the White House lawn. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a soldier. He had been waiting for this day for 3 years. "Ma'am, we knew this might happen. We have been preparing." Dr. Amanda Rodriguez sat across from the president's desk. She was younger than the other two, with dark hair and bright eyes that missed nothing. In her hands, she held a tablet that contained secrets the galaxy had never imagined. "Project Prometheus is ready, Madam President. We can begin immediately." The president stood up and walked to the large window behind her desk. Outside, she could see normal people living normal lives. They had no idea that their government was about to make a decision that would change everything. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. 2,043 combat vessels. General Patterson replied. "Each one built in secret using materials from asteroid mining operations. The aliens think we are just collecting rocks for construction. They have no idea we have been building a fleet." Dr. Rodriguez touched her tablet, and a holographic display appeared in the air above the president's desk. It showed the solar system with hundreds of small dots moving around it. "Every ship uses our quantum tunnel drive system. The aliens still think we use their old technology. They have never seen anything like what we have built." The president studied the display. Each dot represented a ship full of human beings who were ready to fight for their species' future. These were not professional soldiers like the old Earth, armies. These were volunteers from every human world, farmers and teachers, doctors and engineers, mothers and fathers who refused to be pushed around by aliens who thought humans were children. "What about Captain Barnes?" the president asked. "Nicole Barnes is our best," General Patterson said with a smile. "She fought in the Mars colonial wars. She knows space combat better than anyone. Her crew trusts her completely. If anyone can pull this off, it's her. 3 months passed. To the galaxy, it seemed like humanity was quietly accepting their fate. Human diplomats continued to attend meetings and file protests that were ignored. The alien news services reported that humans were beginning to pack up their colonies and prepare to move to the edge worlds. The Galactic Council was pleased with themselves. They had handled the human problem without any real trouble. Some council members even joked about how easy it had been to put the young species in their place. They had no idea what was really happening. Deep under the Colorado Mountains, the largest military base in human history, buzzed with activity 24 hours a day. Thousands of people worked in shifts to prepare for what was coming. They built weapons, planned attacks, and studied every piece of information Jake Morrison had sent them about alien defenses. Captain Nicole Barnes stood in the main command center looking at a huge display that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked alien military bases. Blue dots showed human colonies that needed protection. Green lines showed the routes her ships would take when the time came. She was a woman in her 40s with short blonde hair and calm blue eyes. She had spent 20 years in space and had fought in more battles than she cared to remember. Her crew called her Ice because she never lost her cool, even when enemy fire was exploding all around her ship. "The quantum tunnels are working perfectly," reported Lieutenant Carl Johnson. He was her chief engineer, a thin man with quick hands and a genius-level understanding of how things worked. "We can appear anywhere in the galaxy within minutes. The aliens will never see us coming." Major Susan Parker stood at the tactical display studying enemy positions. She was the best military planner humanity had ever produced. She could look at a battle situation and see patterns that others missed. Their defense systems are designed to stop attacks that come from normal space. They scan for ships approaching at light speed. They have never faced anything that can just appear inside their defenses. Captain Barnes nodded. The human advantage was not better weapons or stronger ships. The human advantage was that they thought differently than aliens who had been fighting the same way for thousands of years. "How are the crews holding up?" she asked. Commander Alex Chen looked up from his navigation station. He was young but had already proven himself the best pilot in the human fleet. He could fly through asteroid fields and around planets like he was born in space. "Everyone knows what we're fighting for, Captain. They know that if we fail, humanity will spend the rest of its existence living on desert worlds at the edge of nowhere." The truth was that most of the people preparing for this mission knew they might not come home. The alien fleets were larger and had been fighting for centuries. But humans had something the aliens had forgotten about. They had the desperate courage of people who had nothing left to lose. President Campbell made a speech that was broadcast to every human world. She stood in the rose garden with the sun shining on her face and spoke words that would be remembered forever. "We did not ask for this fight," she said. "We asked only to be treated as equals. We offered friendship and cooperation. We were told we were children who needed to be controlled. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity has grown up." The speech was heard by millions of humans across dozens of worlds. In the colonies that were supposed to be evacuated, people stopped packing and started preparing to defend their homes. On Earth, families watched their sons and daughters leave to join the fleet that would decide humanity's future. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison continued his work as Earth's ambassador. He attended council meetings and filed the same useless protests. He looked defeated and frustrated, exactly like the aliens expected him to look. None of them suspected that every conversation he had was being recorded and analyzed by human intelligence officers. The aliens thought they knew everything about human capabilities. They were confident that humanity would obey the council's orders because humans had no choice. Their own intelligence services had reported that Earth's military was small and primitive. Those reports were about to be proven very wrong. Deep in space, human ships moved through quantum tunnels toward their targets. Captain Barnes sat in the command chair of her flagship and watched the countdown on her screen. In 6 hours, the galaxy would discover that they had badly underestimated the species they thought were children. The time for talking was over. The time for action had begun. The attack began at exactly 9:15 in the morning, Galactic Standard Time. The Galactic Council was meeting in their crystal chambers, discussing how to divide up the former human colonies. Councillor Vex was explaining which Vorthak families would get mining rights when the first alarms started screaming. Captain Nicole Barnes sat in the command chair of her ship, the Terra's Fury. Around her, the bridge was filled with quiet, focused activity. Her crew had trained for this moment for 3 years. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do when they were pushed too far. Quantum tunnel exit in 30 seconds, reported Commander Alex Chen from the pilot station. His hands moved over the controls with smooth precision. Target is the Vorthak shipyard at Kepler Station. All weapons ready, Captain, said Major Susan Parker from the tactical station. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were bright with concentration. 12 ships coming with us. Enemy defenses are exactly where Ambassador Morrison said they would be. Captain Barnes looked at the main screen. It showed empty space, but she knew that in a few seconds they would be inside the most heavily defended shipyard in the galaxy. The Vorthak had built it to construct their newest and most powerful warships. After today, it would be nothing but floating metal. Remember, she told her crew, we are not here to kill everyone. We are here to send a message. Disable their ships and take their commanders prisoner. Show them we can fight, but also show them we are not monsters. The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped out of the quantum tunnel. Suddenly the main screen filled with the sight of the massive Vorthak shipyard. It was huge, with metal arms stretching out in all directions. Dozens of alien warships were docked there, including 3 of the new battleships that the Council thought could defeat any human fleet. Enemy shields are down, reported Lieutenant Carl Johnson from the engineering station. They never expected anyone to appear inside their defense perimeter. We have complete surprise. The human ships moved through the shipyard like sharks through a school of fish. Their weapons were not more powerful than alien guns, but they used them in ways the aliens had never seen. Instead of trying to destroy the massive station, they targeted specific systems. Power generators, communication arrays, and weapon control centers were hit with surgical precision. Captain Barnes watched as alien ships tried to launch from their docking bays. Her pilots were ready for them. Commander Chen led a squadron of fighters that danced around the larger alien vessels, hitting their engines and weapons while staying too fast to be caught. Vorthak battleship trying to power up its main guns, reported Major Parker. Should I destroy it? Negative, Captain, Barnes replied. Disable only. Target their weapon systems and engines. I want that ship captured, not destroyed. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, the Vorthak shipyard was completely helpless. Its defenses were gone, its ships were disabled, and its commanders were prisoners on human vessels. Not a single person had been killed, but the message was clear. Humans could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning, but the shipyard was not the only target. Across the galaxy, 11 other human fleets were hitting Council military bases at the same moment. Each attack was perfectly coordinated. Human ships appeared out of quantum tunnels, struck their targets, and vanished before the aliens could respond. The Zelani fleet base at Andromeda Station was disabled in 22 minutes. The Krex mining operation at Titan's Gate was captured in 15 minutes. Every major Council military facility was either destroyed or under human control within an hour. Back in the Council chambers on Zentara Prime, chaos erupted as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Councillor Zafira's calm composure cracked as she read message after message describing impossible human victories. This cannot be happening, she said, her glass-like voice shaking. Humans do not have this technology. Our intelligence said their ships were primitive. Councillor Vex clicked, his mandibles together rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. Kepler Station is not responding. Neither is the Rim Defense Base or the Outer Guard Station. How can humans be in 12 places at once? The massive stone Councillor Threx rumbled with confusion. Our military commanders said humans were no threat. They said human weapons were toys compared to ours. All eyes turned to Jake Morrison, who sat quietly in the diplomatic gallery. His face showed no emotion as he watched the alien counselors panic. For 3 years he had sat in this same seat, listening to them dismiss humanity as children. Now the children had grown up. Counselor Zephyra pointed one of her long fingers at him. "You knew about this. You have been spying on us." Jake stood up slowly and straightened his tie. "I have been doing my job as Earth's representative. Part of that job is keeping Earth informed about galactic affairs." "This is an act of war," shouted Counselor Vex. "We will destroy every human world." "With what ships?" Jake asked calmly. He pulled a small device from his jacket and pressed a button. Suddenly, holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing the real-time status of every Council military base in the galaxy. Every single display showed the same thing: disabled, captured, or destroyed. General Patterson's voice filled the chamber from the hologram. He stood in the command center under the Colorado Mountains, surrounded by screens showing successful human operations across the galaxy. "This is General Roy Patterson of the United Earth Space Command," he said. His voice was calm, but carried the authority of someone who had just demonstrated his power. "We have shown you our capability to defend our interests. We did not want this fight, but we will finish it if necessary." The council members sat in stunned silence. In one morning, their entire military advantage had vanished. The humans they had dismissed as primitive children had outmaneuvered them completely. "We seek no conquest," General Patterson continued. "We want no dominion over your species. We simply demand the right to exist among the stars as equals, not as subjects to be relocated at your whim." President Campbell appeared on another hologram. She stood in the Oval Office looking directly at the council members. "You had a choice. You could have treated us as partners and friends. Instead, you chose to treat us as problems to be managed. This is the result of that choice." Jake Morrison looked around the chamber at the shocked alien faces. "You should have listened when we asked nicely," he said quietly. The silence stretched on for long minutes. Finally, Counselor Zephyra found her voice. "What do you want from us?" Jake smiled for the first time in 3 years. "We want what we always wanted: respect, equality, the right to live where we choose and grow as we see fit. We want to be partners, not pets." "And if we refuse?" asked Counselor Threx. Jake's smile faded. "Then you will learn that humans are very good at fighting wars. We have been doing it for thousands of years. You have been at peace so long that you have forgotten what real war looks like." Captain Barnes's voice came through the communication system from her flagship. "All human forces are standing by for further orders. We can withdraw and return to peaceful negotiations, or we can show you what Phase 2 of our operation looks like." The council members looked at each other with fear in their alien eyes. For the first time in their long lives, they were facing an enemy they could not simply order around or dismiss. The galaxy would never be the same. The days after the human attack were filled with confusion and fear across the galaxy. Species that had felt safe under council protection for thousands of years suddenly realized their military was gone. The humans had destroyed or captured every major weapon and ship the council owned. On Zentara Prime, emergency meetings happened around the clock. Council members who had never worried about war now spent their time trying to understand how badly they had underestimated humanity. Intelligence reports painted a picture that shocked them all. Counselor Zephyra sat in her private office reading the latest report. Her glass-like hand shook as she turned the pages. The humans had not just attacked randomly. They had planned everything perfectly. Every strike had hit exactly the right target to cause maximum damage with minimum killing. "They knew our schedules," she said to her assistant. "They knew where our ships would be, where our commanders would be, even where our families live. How long have they been watching us?" The answer came from her intelligence chief, a nervous Silani named Kef. "At least 5 years, Counselor. Maybe longer. Every cultural exchange, every trade meeting, every diplomatic visit, they were gathering information the whole time." Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Jake Morrison sat in his office preparing for the most important meeting of his career. Tomorrow he would address the full council not as a dismissed supplicant, but as the representative of a power that had proven it could not be ignored. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez arrived that morning with a team of human scientists. She was no longer hiding what humanity could do. Her shuttle landed in the main docking bay, and every alien who saw it was amazed. The human ship used technology they had never seen before. "Dr. Rodriguez," Jake said as she entered his office, "I hope you brought some impressive demonstrations." She smiled and set a small device on his desk. "I brought solutions to problems the Council has been struggling with for centuries. Medical technology that can extend alien lifespans by hundreds of years. Agricultural techniques that can make dead worlds bloom with life. Engineering solutions that can make space travel safer and faster for everyone." The emergency council session began at noon. This time, the chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of species who had come to see what the humans would say. The mood was very different from Jake's last appearance. No one was laughing now. Jake walked to the center platform carrying a briefcase full of documents and data chips. But this time, he was not alone. Dr. Rodriguez stood beside him along with Captain Barnes, who had been given permission to attend via hologram from her flagship. "Honorable counselors," Jake began, "3 months ago, I stood in this same spot and asked for fair treatment for humanity. I was told that humans were children who needed to be controlled. Today I return with a different message." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a data chip. When he inserted it into the chamber's display system, holographic images filled the air above the council seats. The images showed human colonies, human ships, and human technology that was far more advanced than anything the council had expected. "For 5 years since first contact, humanity has been preparing for this day," Jake continued. "We hoped it would never come. We wanted to be your partners and friends. But we also knew that powerful beings sometimes try to control those they see as weak." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "We offer you a choice," she said. "We can continue as enemies or we can work together as equals. If you choose partnership, humanity will share technology that can benefit every species in this galaxy." She activated her tablet, and new images appeared in the air. Medical scanners that could detect diseases no alien doctor had ever seen. Farming techniques that could feed billions of people on worlds previously considered barren. Engines that could travel between stars faster and safer than anything currently in use. "But these are human inventions," protested Counselor Vex. "Why should we trust technology we do not understand?" Captain Barnes spoke from her hologram. "Because we have already proven we could have destroyed you completely, but we chose not to. Every attack we made was designed to disable, not kill. We could have turned your military bases into graveyards, but we chose to capture your people instead." It was true. In all the human attacks, fewer than 100 aliens had died, and most of those were accidents. The humans had shown remarkable restraint for a species that was supposedly primitive and violent. "What do you want in return?" asked Counselor Threx. "Full membership in the Galactic Council," Jake replied. "Equal representation for humanity. The right to colonize worlds we can make productive. The right to defend ourselves against those who would harm us. In short, we want to be treated as equals, not children." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some counselors, especially the older ones, argued that humans were still too dangerous to trust. Others pointed out that humanity had already demonstrated they could take what they wanted by force but were choosing to negotiate instead. Counselor Zephyra finally asked the question that everyone was thinking. "What happens if we say no?" Jake looked directly at her. "Then you will see what Phase 2 of our operation looks like. Captain Barnes showed you what humans can do with restraint. If you force us to continue this conflict, you will see what we can do without it." The threat was clear, but so was the opportunity. Humanity was offering partnership instead of conquest. They were offering to share their knowledge instead of keeping it secret. They were offering to help solve galactic problems instead of creating new ones. Dr. Rodriguez provided the final argument. "Your species have been in space for thousands of years, but you have become comfortable. You have forgotten how to innovate, how to adapt, how to grow. Humans are young, but we are still learning, still changing, still discovering new ways to do things. Together we can accomplish more than any of us could alone. Captain Barnes added, "Our colonies are already producing food that feeds 12 different worlds. Our doctors have saved thousands of alien lives. Our engineers have built stations that benefit everyone. We are not asking for charity. We are offering mutual benefit." The council recessed for 6 hours to debate in private. During that time, Jake sat in his office watching news reports from across the galaxy. Some species were calling for war against humanity. Others were demanding that their governments negotiate with Earth before the humans decided to attack them. 2. When the council reconvened, Counselor Zephyra stood to announce their decision. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the fear in her glass-like eyes. "The Galactic Council has voted," she said. "By a margin of 8 to 4, we accept humanity as a full member of this body. Ambassador Morrison will be granted full voting rights and a permanent seat in these chambers. Human colonies will be recognized as legitimate, and humanity will be allowed to expand to any unclaimed worlds they can successfully colonize." Jake felt relief flow through him like cool water. The vote was closer than he had hoped, but it was enough. However, Counselor Zephyra continued, "This acceptance comes with conditions. Humanity must share their quantum tunnel technology with allied species. Human military expansion will be monitored, and any future human aggression will result in immediate expulsion from the Council." Jake nodded. "Earth accepts these conditions. We look forward to working with all Council species as partners and equals." For the first time in galactic history, a species had fought their way to equality. The age of human submission was over. The age of human partnership had begun. 6 months had passed since the Council vote that changed everything. The galaxy was still getting used to the idea that humans were now equals, not subjects. Some species adapted quickly to the new reality. Others struggled with the change. Jake Morrison sat in his new office in the Council chambers. It was much larger than his old space, with windows that looked out at the busy traffic of ships coming and going from Zentara Prime. On his desk sat a nameplate that read, "Ambassador Morrison, Human Representative, Full Council Member." The morning brought news from across the galaxy. Human colonies were thriving under their new protections. Trade agreements were being signed between Earth and dozens of alien worlds. Human doctors were working in alien hospitals, and alien scientists were studying at human universities. But not everything was peaceful. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez walked into Jake's office carrying a tablet full of reports. She looked tired but pleased. "The technology sharing program is going better than expected," she said. "The Zilani have already improved our medical scanners by 30%. The Krex engineers are helping us build better mining equipment." "What about the Vorthak?" Jake asked. Dr. Rodriguez frowned. "They are still angry about losing their military advantage. Some of their commanders are talking about building new weapons specifically designed to fight human ships. They don't like that. We proved their fleets were not as powerful as they thought." This was the problem Jake had been expecting. Not all Council species were happy about humanity's rise to power. The Vorthak, in particular, had built their entire culture around being the galaxy's strongest military force, having humans destroy. Their fleets in 17 minutes had been a humiliation they could not forget. Captain Barnes appeared on the communication screen in Jake's office. She was calling from her new command ship, the Galactic Unity, which patrolled the space between human and alien worlds. Her crew now included officers from 6 different species, making it the first truly multi-species military unit in galactic history. "Ambassador," she said, "we have a situation developing in the Outer Rim. 3 Vorthak battle groups are moving toward the human colony at New Boston. They claim it's a training exercise, but our intelligence suggests otherwise." Jake felt the old familiar tension in his chest. "How many ships?" 47 combat vessels, Captain Barnes replied, "all armed with new weapons that we haven't seen before. They've been working on technology specifically designed to counter our quantum tunnels." This was exactly what Jake had feared would happen. The galaxy had accepted humanity as equals, but some species were already trying to find ways to put humans back in their place. The Vorthak had never forgiven humanity for embarrassing them so completely. "What are your orders?" "Captain, Barnes asked. Jake thought carefully. How he responded to this challenge would determine whether the peace would last or whether humanity would have to fight another war. Captain, take 12 ships and meet the Vorthak fleet at the edge of the new Boston system. Do not fire unless they fire first, but make it clear that any attack on human colonies will be considered an act of war. Dr. Rodriguez looked concerned. Jake, if fighting starts again, we might not have the element of surprise this time. The Vorthak have been studying our tactics. They know how we fight now. Then we'll have to be better than they expect, Jake replied. Meanwhile, in the council chambers, an emergency session was being called. Counselor Vex stood at his podium, his insect-like features twisted with anger. The humans have become too powerful, he declared. They threaten the natural order of galactic civilization. Something must be done before they decide to conquer us all. Counselor Zephyra listened with growing concern. She had voted to accept humanity into the council because she believed it was better to have them as partners than enemies. But Vex's words were finding support among some of the other species. What do you propose? She asked. A demonstration, Vex replied. The human colony at New Boston is lightly defended. If we can capture it quickly, we can show the galaxy that humans are not invincible. We can force them back to their proper place. The debate that followed was heated. Some counselors supported Vex's plan, arguing that humanity needed to be taught humility. Others warned that attacking human colonies would lead to another war that the council might not win. Jake arrived at the chambers just as the vote was being called. He took his seat in the human section and listened as the results were announced. 7 votes to attack New Boston, 5 votes against. The motion passed. Jake stood up slowly. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to him. For a moment he remembered his first day in this room, when he had been dismissed as the representative of a species of children. Now, when he spoke, the galaxy listened. Counselors, he said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of authority. I want to make sure you understand what you have just voted for. You have voted to attack a peaceful human colony. You have voted to break the treaty that made us partners. You have voted for war. Counselor Vex clicked his mandibles together. Humans need to learn their place. You have become too proud, too confident. This attack will remind you that you are still the youngest species in the galaxy. Jake pulled out his communication device and pressed a button. President Campbell's face appeared on the chamber's main screen. She was sitting in the Oval Office, surrounded by military advisors. Madam President, Jake said, the Council has voted to attack New Boston. I am formally requesting that Earth defend its citizens by any means necessary. President Campbell nodded. Ambassador Morrison, Earth authorizes you to inform the Council that any attack on human territory will be met with immediate and overwhelming response. We will not limit ourselves to disabling enemy ships this time. The threat was clear. In the First War, humans had shown restraint. They had captured ships instead of destroying them, taken prisoners instead of killing enemies. If the Council wanted another war, humanity would not be so gentle. Captain Barnes's voice came through the communication system from her ship near New Boston. Ambassador, the Vorthak fleet has just dropped out of hyperspace. They are moving toward the colony and charging their weapons. Jake looked around the chamber at the alien faces watching him. Last chance, he said. Call off your attack and we can continue as partners. Continue with this aggression and you will see what humans do when we stop being nice. Counselor Vex made a dismissive gesture. Attack, he ordered. Jake pressed another button on his device. Suddenly, holographic displays throughout the chamber showed the space around New Boston. The Vorthak fleet was visible, moving toward the human colony with weapons ready. Then, without warning, the space around the alien ships filled with human vessels. They appeared out of quantum tunnels by the dozens, surrounding the Vorthak fleet, completely. The aliens found themselves outnumbered 3-1 by ships they had not even known were there. Captain Barnes's voice filled the chamber. Vorthak Commander, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of human space. This is your only warning. The silence stretched for long minutes. Finally, the Vorthak Commander responded. We are powering down weapons and withdrawing. Jake looked directly at Counselor Vex. The next time you vote to test humanity's resolve, remember this moment. Remember that humans do not bluff, and we do not make empty threats. We are your partners and equals, but we are not your victims. The chamber remained silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had not just defended one colony. They had demonstrated that they could defend all their territory simultaneously, with overwhelming force whenever necessary. Counselor Zephyra finally spoke. Perhaps it is time for the Council to fully accept that the galaxy has changed. Humanity is not going away and they are not going to be pushed around. We must learn to work with them, not against them. Jake nodded. That is all we ever wanted. Partnership, not domination. Respect, not submission. The chance to grow and contribute to galactic civilization as equals. He looked around the chamber one more time. The age of treating humans as children is over. The age of working together, as partners, has begun. The question now is whether you will embrace this new reality or continue to fight against it. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through strength, tempered by wisdom. The Council would never underestimate Earth again,